Some big economic news this morning. Bianna, over to you.
That's right, Dan. It was a brutal start to the Labor Day weekend on Wall Street, with the Dow taking 253-point nosedive, or more than 2%. It was all a reaction to this number, a big fat zero. Absolutely no new jobs were added last month, while the unemployment rate stayed at 9.1%. But this is the stat that really has economists worried. If somehow 208,000 jobs were created in a month, that's how many jobs were added on average between 2000 and 2010, it would take until February 2024, more than 12 years from now, for us to close the gap to pre-recession unemployment levels. That is the challenge we face today. I know that's something you've been looking into as well, Dan.
It really is the huge question, Bianna. So ABC News reached out to a panel of the brightest economic minds to find out what can be done to create jobs in this country, to bring America back. It is a moment of fear, a perilous juncture for America.
The worst jobs report in almost a year. The headline here is bad and worse than expected.
How can we fix things? Here are some ideas from our panel of experts. Idea number one, Washington needs to end all the partisan barking and bickering, something the president alluded to in his weekly address this morning.
There's a lot of talk in Washington these days about creating jobs, but it doesn't help when those same folks turn around and risk losing hundreds of thousands of jobs just because of political gamesmanship.
Companies won't start hiring again, say our experts, until both sides sit down and craft a real long-term plan on taxes and spending.
Suppose that you're playing on the field and you don't know what the rules are. The game becomes very confusing. At some point you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the sideline.
But after Friday's jobs numbers came out, members of Congress unleashed a blizzard of press releases blaming the other party. Not a good sign. Idea number two, retrain our workers. People who lost their jobs in construction, real estate, and retail need to be given new skills for industries that are hiring, like healthcare and high tech.
That's the kind of programs that can at least get people from, transition through this difficult time of at least getting a paycheck rather than a fast food paycheck.
Idea number three comes from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who says if the government allows drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, that would create nearly 200,000 jobs. That is controversial, though, after last year's massive oil leak. Idea number four comes from the other side of the political spectrum, that Congress should support the president's plan of extending unemployment benefits, which are about to expire. And idea number five comes from the man who runs PIMCO Investments. He says businesses should hire a few extra entry-level workers. It's cheap, he says, and it can give employers flexibility when it comes to having enough workers on hand to cover vacations and retirement.
We hire incoming people in excess of what we strictly need. And what we have found is that helps us tremendously.
And he says if a lot of companies did that, we could bring the unemployment rate down. The next big development in this story, of course, is Thursday's speech by the president.
Yeah, everyone's waiting for something big. The challenge here, though, is that any recessions historically that were started by a financial crisis are always the most difficult to recover from, especially on the jobs front. So we shall see if anything comes out Thursday.
It'll be interesting to see whether both sides talk to one another or past each other.
That's right. The Republicans are coming out with their speech the following week. It will be interesting.